Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Saturday night's all right for fighting, and Monday night's all right for reviewing it. It is the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. We are back again. This is a Monday night. You've already seen us earlier. What's Monday night we're recording? You will see this on Tuesday. You've already seen our beautiful faces today. I am your host, Adam Cousins, and that is the smiling assassin. That is our AEW guru, Dave Robinson. Good evening to you.
Good evening, sir. You okay?
Oh, it was only been a few hours since we.
I never know what to say in these bits because obviously we've already spoken off air.
Yeah, I know. Just
So
say
it's a
whatever
weird
comes
one.
to your head.
I always just say, "How you doing, mate?" But I need something else. I need a little intro. I've got my Kenny Omega outro. I'm going to work on an intro.
There you go. He's AEW guru. He's got his good night bang, but he hasn't got his welcome yet.
I'm going to work on that. I'd like to steal Hello Nights. Let me talk to you, but I better keep it. I better keep it AEW.
Yeah, it might be wise. We are going to get to Collision very, very shortly. Obviously, we normally cover off some news that has happened since these programs have aired. Now, we appreciate, like we've already said, everyone, we had Buckle Up at the weekend. It was a manic weekend. So some of these stories have only just broke as this evening, really. I've just read one story this evening that I didn't know about. But anyway, first bit of news to cover off has probably been out there in last few days. Brian Pillman Jr. Left AEW, contract expired, didn't renew. Don't know why. We don't know. But looks like he's WWE bound, or at least Performance Center bound. So probably NXT bound. I'm not quite sure where he fits in the WWE, Dave. I don't. Is this going to be a way of? Do you remember when WWE used to release guys and TNA used to bring him in and go, this is our world champion. This is what you could have done. Is this WWE going to actually do something with Brian Pillman Jr. to basically say to AEW, this is the star that you dropped? Or are they going to turn around and go, this is one of your, it wasn't even a pillar, was he? But this was one of your homegrown guys and he can't hang in the ring. A bit like they did with Goldberg. They took his weakness and they just hit it. What do you make of all of this?
Difficult. I was sad to see Pillman go, although he didn't really fulfill potential. He did have opportunities, and at times the connection with the crowd wasn't there. And he's a very young guy, and he's carrying the weight or the responsibility, if you like, can go against you, of his dad's legacy as well. So it's a difficult spot for him in many ways. I think he's a talented wrestler, and I think with a bit of promo school and tweaking things, he could be a star. Absolutely. Now it's whether WWE do that and fully invest in him, give him the Performance Center treatment, give him the NXT run, and they're going to have to mention his dad. Because everyone knows there's no getting away from it.
Well. I mean, it took him a while to do Braun Breaker. Braun.
I suppose.
Steiner's son. They tried to take that whole thing away originally. I don't know if it's Pillman.
There's people like Bruce Pritchard. Is it there? That's backstage.
Shawn Michaels, Matt Bloom, or AJ. Are the ones that do
NXT.
it, but they do normally have that random NXT name generator. So it could be like Stephen Simmons Jr.
I'd like to think they'll keep him as Brian Pillman Jr. Obviously, AEW won't have the rights to his name as
the
such.
issue with that is obviously WWE love a trademark, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. But I don't know. I think it would be again insulting the intelligence of fans if they didn't go with Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah,
I don't think he's somebody that they're going to thrust into the main roster anytime soon. But I think he could have a real good run in NXT. I really hope that he does well and that he has a great career in the WWE. But whether they're just, you'd like to think that they are doing it with good intentions and not just the fact that he was an AEW guy and they're doing it like for a political reason or for anything like that. Cody's career, they've done a great job with Cody, obviously an already established star, and did a lot more on the indies than Brian Pillman after he left WWE. So yeah, strange one. I thought he was probably going to go on an indie run and work his way back to AEW. I thought he was going to go and kind of really get himself out there, really improve his overall presentation and performance, and find his way back to AEW. I thought that was a good fit for him. So yeah, we'll see what Shawn Michaels does with him in NXT.
Well, unless there's another blonde superstar, they could do the Hollywood Blondes.
Yeah,
potential. I don't know. I'm at a loss on this one. I really don't know what they're.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like that. It's a little bit. I didn't expect that to happen. Though it was a surprise when he was at the Performance Center. But he is a great wrestler, and he's got all the potential. There's a lot of great wrestlers, but to be missing that missing ingredient to go on to be an absolute star. So yeah, they obviously see that potential in him. Hopefully, that's why they brought him in, because they do see that potential and they do think he can go to that next level and be a main roster superstar, because that's what the overall aim is with NXT, I suppose. I know it's not like developmental as such, but they want to create superstars that draw a lot of money, and they obviously think that Brian Pillman Jr. can be one of those.
Time will tell. I have to be careful how I pronounce our good friend Orange. We'll call him that now. We refrain from the other word because we do have younger viewers that like to watch his show, most notably Abigail, who was at the show yesterday.
Yeah.
Orange, a producer and an agent now for AEW. He's dabbling in the backstage work. We always said that Tony Khan probably needed some help, loads of hours of wrestling to do, and obviously he's producing matches. He's not he's not creative writer or anything like that, but he's assisting with producing matches. And it's good because it's an active wrestler producing a wrestling match. Although we can take the mick out of his gimmick and the pockets and all that stuff, but he is a wrestler, and that kind of makes sense. A good one, yeah, and it just kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I obviously haven't had the pleasure of meeting or talking to Orange Cassidy, but he does seem like the kind of guy that you would want in that position backstage. He seems like a really nice bloke, and not like not an egomaniac or anything like that. All wrestlers have got an ego. Everyone's got an ego, but all wrestlers have got to. They need to have that. They need to have it to a degree, but I don't think the guys that they've got in place there, your Orange Cassidys, your Bryan Danielsons, Dax, people like that, I can only see that as a positive. I think there's a lot of ex-wrestlers that could come in and do a job in these producer positions as well. There's a lot of intelligent people that are in the world of wrestling that aren't active performers anymore that could really contribute a lot to the product. I mean, we were talking with Victoria Lisa. That was something that she wanted to do in terms of a similar role to Sarah Stock, doing backstage at AEW, working with the women's division and producing matches there. So I think it's great. It's a great opportunity to Orange. He's not done with his career by a long shot yet, but it does help that. It does help as well that more wrestlers get this opportunity to do this. So when they finish wrestling, they know if that's a path that they can stay with. It's something they're good at, something that they've already got experience in from when they were on the active roster. So yeah, I like that announcement, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I. Good luck to him. Good luck to our good friend at OB. Oh, there you go, OB.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
That's right, Joe.
Exactly, and that's where Joe for us. The last bit of news and I've literally just read this, so I don't. I'm quite. Jeff Hardy. No, he's not in trouble. Before we get over to that, there's no issue with Jeff, thank God. He had an interview and he said in this interview, I think it was with Fightful, he wants another world title run, and he believes that he can go on wrestling until he's 50. He's 45 currently. This is the last he's made. It said this is his last run, Hardy Boy's last run. Interesting.
So he's saying it's the Hardy Boys' last run, but he himself can wrestle till he's 50.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 years. I think, I suppose, maybe they're both going to go in 5 years. Maybe that's what he was indicating. I don't know. But basically,
he's younger than Matt, though, isn't he?
He is. But he reckons 5 years, and he reckons another title world. He would like to hope he can do another world title. Has that time passed now?
Yeah. Yeah. I love Jeff Hardy as a performer. I'm glad that he seems to have got on top of his demons again. I'd love to see him have another tag title run with his brother. I think that'd be great. I'd like them to do a bit more Hardy compound stuff, because I don't think they really got the opportunity to show the Impact stuff the stuff that they did in Impact with the Hardy compound and Matt Hardy. I don't think we saw the best of that in WWE. Well, we didn't.
We didn't really see it.
And Matt Hardy is so creative, and the cinematic matches you can attribute to Matt Hardy, really.
Yeah.
He was the guy that the first guy to merge the two worlds. I can't think of anybody that did it before Matt, not in the way that he did it. And then obviously we've had a lot off the back of it in AEW, WWE.
Even Impact done something like that.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, I think there's a lot that the Hardy Boys can bring to AEW, and in front of the camera and backstage in terms of Matt. As far as Jeff's concerned, I'd love him to stay fit and healthy, have a good run, a tag run with his brother, have a tag team title reign before he rides off into the sunset. I don't foresee a world title reign. I just don't. What do you think, mate? I'm a Jeff fan, so I hate to say that, but I think it's the time of the people like your Hangmans and the younger talent, and
yeah. I mean, look, as long as Jeff stays healthy and he's healthy, his health in a sense is always going to be difficult while he's wrestling, because he's one of those the stuff that he does. It's difficult because you can't really change. You can adapt a little bit of a style, but with Jeff, it's always been the same. Those type of high risk maneuvers that he always does. Where Matt is always kind of that technical stand up wrestler with a little bit of high flying. Jeff was always the high flying guy, and he still is. I just all I care about is him staying healthy.
Same.
Do I think he's got another world title run in him? Probably not. I think
the thing is with wrestling, if the story's good, then I'm all for it. Anybody could have the belt. I suppose I can't see right now how Jeff Hardy goes from where he is to world champion. Yeah. But if it's a good story and everyone's invested in it, then why not? To some degree. But yeah, that's the main focus is that he stays as he is, as he's doing at the minute. He's doing great work. He wasn't allowed, obviously, to go to the Canada tour. He needs to just stay clean, stay healthy. He can adapt his style to a degree, but he's not going to suddenly stop doing the swanton, or every time he does the swanton, that's another one on his bump card. And I think his bump card is pretty full. If not, he's got a few bump cards that he's had to use because he's filled his own up. If the story's right, great. As it is, I'd just like to see the tag title run.
Yeah, me too. I think that's probably the best. Anyway, let's talk about Collision. Collision was on Saturday. It was in New Jersey for I think it was the first. Yeah, obviously it's probably the first time Collision's been only about 4 weeks in. Obviously Ricky Starks showed up in a riding style. Shivani's in the ring. Starks comes in. I have never seen the amount of pyro used in my life. The amount of Ricky Starks got at the start of his promo. It must have gone on about 2 minutes of just pyro, which was crazy. They said it was $100,000. Shivani makes the point about holding the ropes. Starks just says, look, it's not important. The most important thing was he won. They said he's on about half fan says he's a pillar, but he says how many pillars have won the Owen. Punk comes out and basically says, look, I'm not mad that you done that. I'm mad at myself. He did then sort of go a little bit into a heel. He's also, if the New Jersey Devils believed in themselves, maybe they'd make it out of the first round. So that was a little hit of the crowd. I mean, the crowd was 50-50. Punk did say that he's the real world champion, and asked Ricky if he wants a shot. Enter whichever one's the TNT champion out of this, Christian Luchasaurus. Basically said this was taking too long. He wants to get out of Jersey. He did say a line, which is brilliant. He's like, what kind of man carries a championship that they haven't won whilst holding the TNT title that he hasn't won? Yeah. That brings out Darby Allin. And he says that Luchadorus, I think he says, looks like the guy took too many psychedelics and he thinks he's a dinosaur. He offers up a tag to him and Punk versus Starks and Luchasaurus. And that's the opening segment. Punk 50-50 here, heel face promo. What did you make of this? Because it was weird. Darby Allin and Punk, I don't think they've had any beef before. But obviously he's happy to work with him because he's on Collision. But interesting main event.
Yeah, I've got a bit more to say on this later. Okay. But for now, what I'll say is they could have got this outcome, but done it a lot better. Mm-hmm. So it was very strange in terms of the dynamics. That they've kind of flirted with Ricky Starks being a heel. Christian, you could say, was one of the biggest heels on the card, and really Ricky's not yet. I know his actions last week, and then again, this week that we'll go into. So yeah, I'll say a little bit more on it later. I do like though that the opening segment sets up the main event. I think that is a tried and trusted formula that used in wrestling, and I'm all for that. Obviously, I don't want to see the same thing each and every week, but I think going into a match like this, setting up a match, talking throughout the card, and then getting that payoff in the main event is good for weekly television. So I like that. I like the performers. I liked who was in the main event as well, in terms of Christian getting back in the ring. It's been a while since we've seen him actually wrestle. But yeah, I'll touch a little bit more on this later on.
Cool. Andrade turned up. Wasn't allowed in the venue because of his actions last week. Had a bit of a promo with Bullet Club and the Gun Club. Well, Bullet Club Gold. Let's just call him Bullet Club Gold now. Which leads into the first match, which was Action Andretti, Darius Martin versus Bullet Club Gold, Switchblade, and Juice. Really good tag match. To be honest, you get accustomed to it now. Bullet Club Gold. Jay White is finally turning into that superstar that we thought he was. I remember when he first joined to AEW, and the way he was initially brought in, I didn't didn't feel as if he could be that guy that everyone says he is, but he's now slowly but surely, or very fast, very quickly mounting to that guy. Juice isn't so far behind. The one thing I will say about this, and it's only just, I need to see a more serious Gun Club to take. I don't want Bullet Club Gold becoming a comedy skit, because Juice has got a lot of funny faces and he can talk quite funny, and sometimes. With me, the Gun Club, we need to, if they're going to be a Bullet Club permanently for a long period of time, in my opinion, they need to be less sort of comedic and more serious and maybe more aggressive. I don't know what you feel about that. Yeah,
it looks like they've been spending a lot of time in the gym. They both looked pretty pumped up, but
like their dad.
Yeah. But I do agree with you. I think being entertaining and being a comedy act, it can be a fine line.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. What I would like to see is that, I know Jay and Juice have been tagging a lot, and some of the matches have been great, absolutely awesome. And this was a good match as well.
Yeah.
The tag team they were up against in Andretti and Darius Martin, they were on the pre-show on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view as well, before Death by Dishonor. Dishonor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where they. So I saw that match and I thought that was great. So when it was announced on the show that they'd be facing Gun Club or Bullet Club on Collision, I was excited for the match, and it did definitely prove to be the case. But what I would say is, I would hope that the Guns would transition into the Bullet Club Gold tag act. Jay is more of the leader, and Juice is kind of that TNT title, that level. in saying that, Juice has been so good in recent weeks. But like you say, we want Jay to be the world title kind of picture,
Yep.
the leader, the strong. And I think they're putting in good foundations to do that. You know, we've seen how good Jay is in the ring. He's been protected as well. It's been Juice that's been pinned when he's been losing the matches when Bullet Club Gold have lost the matches. So yeah, I liked seeing all four of them together. But as you say, I hope they don't. Yeah, I hope they become a serious threat rather than a bit of a joke in terms of. I don't want to see the Ass Boys anymore.
No,
I don't want to see any of that, or not. Just ignore that. I just want to see them get in the ring. They're great performers. They've bulked up. They're in Bullet Club now, so let's see what they can do.
exactly. Give them an opportunity to shine as serious competitors.
Yeah.
I would say the next match, it wasn't really a match, but Nick, is it Komoroto? Is that how you pronounce his name? It's not even a Japanese guy, but some of these names kill me. So Miro was coming out during his entrance. Nick Komoroto attacked him straight away. Didn't even get in the ring. But literally, as soon as you get in the ring, Miro absolutely destroys him. German suplex, kick to the face, game over. Hits the camel clutch, or whatever it's called. Or it is called the game over, right? That's what
Game over. Yeah.
And he wins. Look, I love Miro. Fans ate this up. They loved it here.
Yeah.
What is going on with this Miro? Because every week, not every week, 'cause it's not even been on for the last couple of weeks, but they've got to get to a stage where they get a serious storyline behind him.
Yeah, I think he's coming.
Yeah, I think
he's coming. Hopefully, he's edited himself back in. I really enjoyed this in terms of the way they started the match.
Yeah.
Komoroto attacking him from behind because he's one of the more bigger guys in AEW. He looks like a bit of a cross between Bobby Roode and Scott Hall, I think, Komoroto. But he has been used more as an enhancement talent, and he was again here. But Miro, I really do think and hope that we were on the cusp of something on the top of the card for him.
I hope so. As much as I do like this this side of him, in a sense. Do you know, he reminds me, if you cut his hair a little bit, Komoroto, he look like Matt Cardona a little bit. If he cut his hair. Anyway.
He's a creator-wrestler hybrid.
Yeah, the creator-wrestler. Do you remember those? I just want to see Miro in a feud now. I want him. I want him on weekly, just not in these short matches. I'm interested to see what they've got planned for Miro going forward, for sure. Yeah. The next match was the Trios Championship. Now, we love the House of Black. We've all said this enough times on the show. This was fun. We love the Acclaimed. Max was just about to say something about Buddy Matthews, which will probably go on and talk about Rhea Ripley, and he got blasted with a flying knee. I think that was probably a receipt from the other rap the other week.
Yeah. The rumor was that the House of Black didn't like that. Legitimately didn't like that, but whether that's true or not, we don't know. But yeah, I would have loved to hear what Max was gonna say. I think his raps are so funny, so good, and every time the fans just don't tire of them, and I don't tire of them.
No, I just don't think it's watered down. That's the only reason I like him as heels, because they're more. I remember the one he done to Moxley when he's talking about Renee
sessions.
Yeah, Jesus. But then he's the last person you'd say it to and all. This wasn't long.
No,
to be quite honest, they buried the Acclaimed in this. There was a bit with Daddy Arse at the end. He obviously hit Black Mass on Daddy Arse. The
end, I think he's calling that now.
He's at the end now. He's Black Mass. I know McGuinness scored the end. And just for Abigail and the family's sake, his name is Daddy Arse. We're not swearing. That is the name of the wrestler on the telly. On your telly box every week. He whispered something in his ear. Malachi Black whispered something in Daddy Arse's ear. Takes his boots off, puts him in the ring, walks past Bowens and Caster. Buried the Acclaimed here, absolutely buried them. What are they now going to transition back into a 2?
Yeah, so my take on this is that Daddy Ass takes the fall, to protect them to a degree. But as you say, they didn't really get much offense in. From the way it started, it was kind of smash mouth, and it wasn't a very long affair. I think the story here, or what they wanted to get across, is Darius losing confidence basically and thinking that his time's up. It'd be interesting if they play on whatever Malachi whispered in his ear. And it'd be interesting to see if this is a bit of a ruse in terms of Darius perhaps siding with the House of Black, or this is the way that trio comes to an end, and the Acclaimed transition back to the tag division. Interesting. Carry on, mate.
Is this where they bring Andrade in as a free? Because obviously we don't know what happened with Roosh, and we don't know what happened. We don't know what's happening with that faction at the minute that I'm not even going to pronounce. So,
LFI.
There you go. Yes, them.
Yeah, just say LFI. Lost faction ingobernable. But yeah, I could see the Acclaimed and Andrade up against the House of Black. I think that would make a lot of sense. In terms of Darius retiring, he looked very emotional as well. He's a good actor and stroke performer. He's done it a long time. So I am intrigued as to where they go with this. But yeah, they didn't give the Acclaimed a lot, but I think the idea was for Darius to kind of take the blame as such, and then that leads to what we saw at the end, and him taking his boots off, which symbolically means that he's finished.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll see more of this next week.
Yes, definitely so. FDR, quite short and sweet promo with Schiavone. Basically, they said they got a lot of unfinished business with other tag teams. They kind of mentioned the Young Bucks and a couple of others. But next week is Cole and MJF, and they are next. They reckon they make a joke out of tag team division. And basically, Dax is going to punch someone in the face. Got it? Top guys out. Short, sweet, to the point. I don't think it needs much build next week, but it should be a very, very good tag team match.
Yeah, I think sometimes the AEW promos, they need a little bit of fine tuning and a bit more bullet points, because they can go off. And Dax told a bit of a story here, and it wasn't quite. I don't know. It didn't quite hit for me, this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. So if the job was to kind of hype the match and get me looking forward to it, then job done. They absolutely achieved that. But I think WWE at times are criticised for the promos being so scripted and not having a bit of creative freedom. But I think in AEW it just needs tightening up a little bit.
Yes.
Do you get where I'm coming from with that? Sometimes it's kind of like this point I'm making. It's a bit convoluted.
No, I know what you mean by that. And it was a little bit. I did feel as if he was trying to tell a story on this, but I got a bit. Basically, what I understood was next week someone's getting punched in the face, top guy's out. But he seems to be segueing into the Young Bucks now. That will be kind of an interesting one, because we know.
Yeah, they named the Bucks, the Acclaimed.
Yeah,
and there was another team. I think the third team that they mentioned.
Wasn't Juice in that again? Was it Bullet Club?
No, it wasn't. It was I think it was an actual tag team.
The Guns.
No. Yeah, it was. It was the Guns. It was the Guns. So they named those three teams. But interestingly, mentioning the Young Bucks after everything's happened, I'm pretty confident with them saying that's going to be one of the matches on All In.
All In?
I think it'll be the tag match though, rather than the triple threat. I think it'll be the Bucks against FTR. Would that be a rubber match as well? Have they already had that? They've definitely had two matches and they've won one apiece.
Maybe. You're the guru. You have to look at it.
Yeah, I'll find out for sure, but I'm pretty sure that would be the rubber match, and I can absolutely see that at All In and being an absolute show stealer like it always is.
Well, we already, and we know what FTR done the other week in a tag team division with Juice and Jay White. So if that happens at All In, I'm quite happy, because they've already taken my money for it anyway. So without announcing a match. So
I mean, the Young Bucks, obviously, for everything they've done for AEW and the formation of the company, they deserve that big featured match, and I'm sure Tony Khan will give it to them. And I don't think there's a bigger there's a bigger tag match in AEW for just 2-on-2
No.
than FTR against the Bucks.
Would you throw Bullet Club in there as a free?
Well, you got Bullet Club, you got Lucha Brothers as well. You know, there's a lot of things they could do. But given the fact that I'm gonna put myself out there and say it's the rubber match, I think they'll go for 2-on-2 at Wembley Stadium.
Talking of Wembley, sidetrack in a minute. They are 10,000 paid seats away from one of the biggest gates in wrestling history, surpassing WrestleMania.
That's just incredible. With
That's
no
paid,
matches announced as well.
Yeah, obviously there's comps, which that's obviously taken them closer, but this is paid, legitimately paid seats.
Yeah,
I think they're very close to 70. I want to say 79,000.
Yeah, I think I read 79.
And I think nearly close to 70,000 that's paid.
Yeah.
So they're very close to, as I say, they're 10,000 paid seats away from setting a real attendance record rather than this crap that you hear every time WrestleMania comes around. When they inflate the attendance, this would be legitimate. It's a $9 million gate without a match. And this will be interesting on Wednesday, guys, when we interview Jake the Snake Roberts, obviously Lance Archer's manager. I want to get his take on this, because it's absolutely incredible. It's the first show in the UK, no matches announced, 4 weeks away, and a near $10 million gate. Whatever you think of AEW, if you're a fan of it or not, they had balls and they went for it, and it's paid off big time.
I think everyone should just be proud of them, basically, and proud to be a wrestling fan, because we get a bit of stick at times, and it's always, it's very niche. Anybody listening to this podcast can probably understand and relate where I'm coming from. But to be able to get that many people into the state, it's just unreal. I mean, I remember we were having discussions when they announced it, and people were saying, they wouldn't sell it out, it's going to be half empty. And then also some people saying, well, even if they did 30, 40,000, that'd still be a massive success. We probably said that. I was always confident that it would sell out, and I think it will. I think as soon as a couple of these matches are announced, if we get Ospreay Omega, if we get Bucks FTR, man, that just those two matches alone, you can shift a lot of tickets.
And if and if he's fit, if he's back, they could do Zack Sabre Jr., Bryan Danielson.
Oh man, just take more of my money. I'll pay for my ticket. I'll buy another one. It's great. It's great. I mean, I know they're going to get a bit of UK talent on the show as well, maybe in dark matches. It's just going to be a celebration of wrestling, and I think even if you're not an AEW fan and you're just a wrestling fan, you should kind of be proud to be a wrestling fan and be proud to, just to be in a position where the second company is selling out Wembley or close to, let alone WWE. If WWE did Wembley, it would sell out, absolutely. I'm not saying it of course it would. And hopefully off the back of what AEW have done, that incentivizes the WWE a little bit more. I know it's not as simple as it perhaps sounds to fans to get WrestleMania in London, because it has to be bid on, and there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to consider.
That's already 3 or 4 years away, because they've already got the next 3 or 4 WrestleManias.
Exactly.
Pretty much ended. Yeah. So.
But if WWE did need any kind of proof that the demand is there, then what AEW have done just shows that the appetite for it, and long may it continue.
Exactly that. I can't wait to get over there and kind of get down to Wembley and watch it. Women's match time. Taya Valkyrie, Skye Blue. I suppose one of these matches had just come out of nowhere, so there wasn't really a build or a story behind this. We covered Impact earlier on, and we said the great thing is the women's have got all these stories going on.
Yeah. This
one didn't get it a bunch of a story. It was just a match that got put in. She won her match. Skye Blue's getting a lot of experience here, going against some real experienced talent, which does her the world of good for her career, because even though she takes a defeat here, she's in the ring with someone that's, very talented, experienced. Probably Taya Valkyrie's one of her better matches, to be fair, since she's come in. I've not been overly impressed with her, but this was a lot better. She then gets on the mic and basically tells Britt Baker to come and play on Dynamite, I believe, this week. So we're going to get Britt Baker, Taya Valkyrie. At least we've got a story behind this. Oh, she called her an enhanced. She was basically mugging off Britt's opponent. Wasn't calling her an enhancement talent or something along those lines. But probably Taya's best match for me.
Yeah, the match was fine. It was got. My problem with it is they started to move Taya into a direction that she was going to turn heel. And, after the loss at the pay-per-view and then Statlander coming out and winning the title. And then they flirted with the idea of perhaps putting her in the Outcasts, but then the Outcasts really started insulting her. So it kind of positioned Taya as a face last week. And I know it was in Canada. But then this week she's heel again. So within the space of 3 weeks, she's gone from a heel to a face to a heel. And that's something I'm going to come on to in a little bit about the opening segment. So I think they just needed to commit to the heel turn for Taya. Yeah. And also Skye Blue's been on this great run and she earned a championship match. I really think here that Skye Blue should have been the one picking up the win. And that could have played into Taya's heel turn and kind of they could have doubled down on that after the match, bring a chair in, get refs to pull her off. So yeah, more work needs to be done with the women's division. And I'm sure it will be. I'm sure they'll get it right. What they have got there now is a good roster of women's wrestlers and talent that can steal the show on any given night. So the talent's there, but we need the creative and we need it to be consistent as well.
Yeah, we certainly do. Main event. So Darby, Allin, CM Punk, Christian, and Ricky Starks. This was quite a long sort of main event match. You should expect it to be longer than all the other matches on the card, and it was. Competitive counter. Ended up with Ricky Starks once again holding the ropes to get the win from Darby Allin when he went for a jackknife cover, rolled through, held the ropes, got the win. I'm just a bit confused where they're going with this and what the payoff is going to be for this. Now, I know you said you had some other thoughts about this, so I'm going to roll it over to you right now for your other thoughts.
Yeah, so Ricky ends up picking up the win and in the same style as last week, grabbing the rope. So the any means necessary thing, that's played into it this week, which is fine. My problem, and so there's 3 things that could have been better this week for me on Dynamite.
Just before you say that.
Yeah.
Dave wanted to add a segment to the show, or these shows, which is 3 things you liked, 3 things you didn't. So go for it.
Yeah, it's 3 things that I think could have been better. And so number 1 this week is the heel and face dynamics on the show. Mm-hmm. I think it was all over the place. I think Starks comes out and to a big fanfare and a really good reaction and a lot of fireworks and stuff. And yes, he had that. He grabbed the ropes last week and he brushes past Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, he's still a face, And then he kind of says a few things to Shivani, which are a bit heelish, but the Ricky Starks character, he is kind of like there's an element of arrogance and cockiness.
Yeah.
To team him up with Christian, who's one of the biggest heels in the company, when he's still kind of on the verge of a heel turn, was just clunky for me. The way they structured the first segment, why would Christian come out for a discussion between Punk and Ricky Starks? Surely they could have done something better here with Darby and Darby mentioning the TNT title, and that brings Christian out.
Yes, I was going to just about to mention that, but
yeah, I just thought all the raw ingredients were there to set up a main event, but the way they did it didn't make a lot of sense. Why Christian would just randomly come out during the middle of a Punk Ricky Starks conversation? There's no history, there's no previous, absolutely nothing. So the heel and face dynamics were the first thing that I thought could have been better on this week's show. And again, it's just a case of doubling down. If Ricky Starks is going to be a heel, do it, pull the trigger. If Punk's going to be a heel, do it, pull the trigger.
Yep.
You've got the situation in the main event where you've got Darby as a face, you've got Christian as a heel, and the 2 other guys could have been on either team. Punk could have been the face or heel, and Ricky could have been the Punk face or the heel. And I just thought that was totally avoidable, and I could have set that up differently in the opening segment, and it would have really helped the show overall. Production issues. I mentioned production issues quite a bit, but twice they tried to cut to a commercial break and they didn't. And I know that we got Fight TV, and we don't have commercial breaks as such, and it continues. But there's no excuse for that. I don't want it to just to sound like a rant. So I want to get onto the three things that I really liked. But the last thing I didn't like was Darby kicking out of the Rochambeau. I don't see why it's necessary, and I wish finishing moves were protected a little bit more.
Yes.
So that was my three things that I would have done differently. I had noted about Andretti getting kicked out, but we'll leave it there. Three things that I really like this week, and this is what I want to concentrate on. So maybe I'll do three things I like and one thing that could have been better. I don't want it to sound like a rant. I loved Miro, his intensity. He seems so fired up. And that's why when I mentioned earlier, I think that he's going to go into something else. He's absolutely ready now. He's ready to be put into that main event scene. And he couldn't be any more over. The fans love him. It's the intensity that I really enjoyed. Number two, Andretti and Darius. So their dropkick German suplex move. I thought that was absolutely sensational. I saw them do it at Ring of Honor, and I was hopeful that they would do it on Collision, which they did. And the third thing, Ian Riccaboni's commentary.
Yes.
He's coming to fill in for Kevin Kelly. And he's just fitted like a glove into that role. You know, he's got great chemistry as well with Nigel McGuinness. Again, Nigel McGuinness could have been the third thing that I put, but I just thought the fact that Ian Riccaboni's come in at kind of relative short notice, and he has just done such an incredible job filling in for Kevin Kelly. I think the commentators they've got in AEW are really going to serve them proud for the years to come, you know, because there's going to be a time when JR retires, there's going to be a time when Shivani retires, but they've got the absolute best ready-made replacements working for them. So I thought those were three things that I should mention.
Can Excalibur retire?
Yeah, you don't like Excalibur, do you? What do you think of Ian Riccaboni on commentary?
Love him.
Yeah. And Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly, Ian Riccaboni, and Nigel McGuinness. Just put them on both shows. Would it be feasible having them as a three, or do you think him and Riccaboni and Kevin Kelly would clash of style of commentary?
I don't know. They might complement each other quite well, but I'm not sure. Because they obviously have a 3-man booth usually on Dynamite and on Rampage. They've had a 4-man booth on Rampage, which is too much.
Yes.
But yeah, they could certainly go to a 3-man, but I suppose Collision, they want to keep it very different and have a different feel to Dynamite, so they might stick with a 2-man team. But obviously Kevin Kelly's got a commitment with New Japan, so there might be more periods of time when he's not available. Yeah. So to have Ian Riccaboni, Kevin Kelly, Excalibur, and the rest of, I mean, Taz for me, great.
I don't mind Taz.
I enjoy Taz for his sense of humour, to be honest.
Jericho on commentary, I do like.
Yeah. I'd rather see Jericho on commentary than in the rings these days. No, I don't mind seeing Jericho in the ring, but I'd rather see a little bit less of him in the ring and perhaps a little bit more of him on commentary.
Noticed he was wearing his heels again on Dynamite this week.
Yeah.
Anyway, so score. I mean, I thought the main event was fine. I'm in agreement with you. I don't like main event. I don't like finishes getting kicked out.
There was no need to do that. No. Was there not in a tag match on an episode of Collision at the end when there's nothing really on the line?
Yeah.
I just think the Rochambeau is a move as well. That's very. You don't see anybody else doing it really. It's Ricky Starks' his move, and you hear Rochambeau, you think Ricky Starks, and he's obviously on the precipice now of being a main event player himself.
Yeah.
You know, he's had a world title shot at MJF, but he really cements himself up there now with the introduction of Collision and the more time for everyone to have on the show. So for Darby to kick out of it, I just didn't like that, and they could have done something else there.
They could have done. Going to move on to next week's card in a minute. So this match has been announced. But before that, scores of the week. Now, Andy, who is our illustrious leader, sent me his. I'll get it up now. He said, 6 out of 10, solid but nothing great. For me, last week, NXT was the show of the week. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10, but it wasn't my show of the week. My show of the week was Dynamite. I thought you could, if the only reason it didn't get a high mark is because I just didn't like the fact they put Britt Baker on for about a minute and a half. They could have just left that and just concentrated on it a bit longer on Blood and Guts. So for me, this was a 7, strong 7, but Dynamite wins the week for me.
This for me was a 7, and Raw was my show of the week.
Jeez, was it? What are we going on here? What's happening?
I know, bizarro world.
Bizarre week in Canada.
Well, thinking back, I hadn't thought about it, and I've just thought definitely wasn't SmackDown.
No.
Dynamite was good when you had the Blood and Guts. Collision was decent, Rampage was decent, but I remember it's a long time ago now, a week ago for me. But I think Raw was pretty solid last week, and I gave it an 8.5. So, and I didn't watch NXT.
No.
Impact was good, but I think I gave that an 8 when we spoke about Impact. So yeah, for me, Raw gets show of the week for the last week.
Show of the week. We will cover off. What we will do before we cover off this week's Collision is we'll just cover off this week's matches that have been announced already for Dynamite. Darby Allin, Swerve Strickland, take my money. Orange Cassidy, AR Fox for the international title, should be an absolute show stealer. The man that Gravity forgot, Pac, is now taking on Gravity. So
Gravity didn't forget him. That's it.
Gravity obviously didn't forget him.
It was Riccaboni that said Gravity didn't forget him. That was a great line.
I've seen bits of Gravity. I can't promise I'm going to enjoy it, but I know I like Pac.
Well, he was against Commander at Ring of Honor, and Commander picked up the win, and it was a really great match if you like that kind of thing. If you're into your Lucha Libre, if you like your old school WCW Cruiserweight division.
I love the Cruiserweights, and WCW is my favorite.
Yeah, if you can compartmentalize it and just say, this is a different type of match for the show, this is your Cruiserweight, and I think they do need some kind of, if not Cruiserweight title, an X Division style title. I really do think that would give them something to create them itself a division rather than the intermingling. You see Jericho against Commander and these type of matches, and for me they don't really work. I would put the Cruiserweights or the Lucha Libre style together and have them have a title that they can compete for, because it absolutely worked for Impact with the X Division. And I know there's no limits there, and there doesn't necessarily have to be a weight limit or anything for this one. But I do think giving them a title to fight over would give them more of a meaningful place on the card.
Yeah, that could be something they look at doing. We're going to hear from the best buds, MJF and Adam Cole, and then we're going to have Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley versus the Lucha Brothers versus Best Friends.
Right.
Should be a great match.
Yeah.
What's the story behind it?
The Lucha Brothers, Best Friends. Who else is in the match?
Moxley and Claudio. I know the story behind Allin and Strickland. There's a story that AR Fox and Cassidy, because Darby Allin asked him for a favor to give AR Fox an opportunity. Pac and Gravity, I don't know the story behind that or this other triple threat tag. But
yeah, to be honest, thinking about it, I don't really know where that's came from. If any of our audience can correct us or point it out to us, but yeah, it does seem a little bit of a thrown together. See, that's what I mean. I spoke about this on our Impact review about having a couple of matches that kind of wet your whistle and you really look forward to, but not to announce too much. And I think from what you've said there, a little bit too much has been announced for the show. There's some real good stuff there and stuff I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I would have held back on a few bits and built them into the show somehow.
Yeah, me too. And that's Dynamite. So next week on Collision, already announced. We already know. Tag Team Championships, FTR, Adam Cole and JF. We hope FTR are retaining here, and there's going to be kind of a heel turn from one of those two.
You think this is going to be the week we get that?
It has to be, because I don't want FTR. Well, it doesn't have to be. I'm not the booker of the show. I don't want FTR losing those titles. And if they did, I don't want them losing to two guys that we know. I mean, this is why I think I said this last week. It's WWE. This is what they used to do at WrestleMania season. They used to put the winner of the Royal Rumble, whoever was going against WrestleMania, they would team up, win the titles, turn on each other, and then the titles would mean nothing. I don't want that to happen here, and I don't think it should. I think this will be where one turns on the other. Could it be Cole and MJF? Could it be MJF, which is the way everyone seems to think it's going to go to Adam Cole? Anyway,
I think Roderick Strong's going to cost them the match.
Now that could be possible. And I'd hope something like that. I hope something like that happens. He's in Hartford, Connecticut, which got a lovely boo because we know what's in Connecticut.
Yeah.
But that's that one. Vikingo, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin will take on Juice and the Guns. So no Jay White.
Yeah, so that's interesting, isn't like what we said earlier about Jay moving into that leader role a bit more now. And that's given the fact that they had this match as well this week, adding another couple of elements to it, I like that. I'm happy with that.
And the last match that's been announced is a ladder match between Andalade El Idolo and Buddy Matthews with his mask on.
That is going to be sick. That could be match of the week.
Match of the week. It could. Well, yeah, I think that's going to be an amazing match. As long as they give it the time. It's his mask. He wants his mask back. We know how good Buddy. They had their match at the inaugural Collision.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute barn burner. That had a ladder into that mix. It could be very special indeed. It looks shaping up to be a really good show. Nothing to do with Punk yet. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Why is Jay White not in the match?
I've been a bit critical of the situation with the mask and Andrade, but I suppose if they were working towards a ladder match, it's actually a pretty clever thing to do because they can't use one of the trios titles to. So what else are you going to grab? So perhaps spoke a little bit too soon. If the overall payoff was ladder match between Buddy Matthews and Andrade, and if I knew that, I would have never complained.
Exactly, you'd never ever complain. But that is shaping up to be another good episode of Collision, like the whole season of Collision has been so far. This is probably
the weakest
show they've had. It doesn't mean to say it was bad. It was just weak compared to everything else that they've done.
They've set such a high bar. So
yes, they have, and that's what it is. They've set such a high bar. This week it should be back to that usual high bar self. But Dave, we've done 2 reviews in a day. We are officially back in a lot of ways after a busy weekend. So we're going to be back on, tomorrow, because you're going to see this on Tuesday, guys. So we'll be back on tomorrow on Wednesday with one of the most amazing minds, amazing promos, amazing wrestlers that's never won the world title. He's a Hall of Famer. He used to carry a pet. That pet used to be Damien. And I believe he got squashed by Earthquake once. And then they brought another one back. He also bit the Macho Man Randy Savage's arm with a snake. He is Lance Archer's manager. He is also the great one. Well, not the great one, but the great Jake the Snake Roberts, Dave. I can't wait to pick that guy's brain for a little while.
Well, he's associated as well with in-ring psychology. And I really want to kind of dig a little deeper into that and what he thinks about wrestling psychology, where he thinks it could be improved, what kind of ideas he would have for perhaps some of the stars on the AEW roster. It's going to be having an opportunity to speak with a Hall of Famer, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Indeed, I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Obviously, we'll be back with our Monday Night Raw review. That will probably be out. We'll probably record that Wednesday. That'll probably be out Thursday. We've got a Dynamite to review. Collision. We're close. SmackDown, if you're up early enough. We've got. We're on the very quick road to SummerSlam as well. This is AEW, but we're on the road to SummerSlam. We're on the road to All In. Loads of stuff will be happening over the next few weeks in wrestling, so just please watch it. But for now, he has been Dave Robinson. Goodbye.
We'd like to be. I've messed that up, haven't I, mate? My big moment.
I set you up for this.
I don't know.
Come on,
right. Without further ado, we wish you goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang.
Stay safe.